What's the biggest bachelorette party or wedding night f&ck up you have seen? I've only ever been to one, but a stripper made the groom lie down, attempted to rip his underwear off wedgie style and gave him a testicular torsion. But he didn't tell anyone, just carried on as white as a sheet and went to hospital in the morning with a giant purple nut. This question has been asked 1,000 times, and I still enjoy reading every single response. A friend of mine got drunk before her second wedding and stopped halfway down the aisle to kiss the guy she had an affair with during her first marriage. She was also barefoot by that point, divorced less than 2 years later. Many moons ago, one of my former coworkers got married. At the reception, the mother of the bride was drunk as a skunk. When the caterer cut her off, she attacked her and said, "You can't cut me off, I hired you." Police were called. She was cited for disorderly conduct and assault. And since the venue had a clause in the contract for police activity etc., the groom's parents didn't get the $900 deposit back and ended up taking the mother to small claims court over it. Not sure if they're still married or not. One of my old coworkers slept with his wife's brother. That was probably a no-no. The groom was caught fucking the bridesmaid in the reception room, where liquor was stored. My BFF's Annie cousin's Brenna husband-to-be Kevin got drunk. Brenna said she was going to sleep and left. Kevin grabbed Annie and started kissing her. Brenna comes flying in from the backyard, where she has been spying. Kevin manages to convince Brenna it was all Annie's fault. Annie is kicked out of that branch of the family and the wedding proceeded the next day. Annie is a lesbian who wanted no part of Kevin BTW. People who take cocaine regularly are to be given a wide berth. Moms who invade a gay bar, get wasted, and take cocaine for the first time ever are a ticking time bomb. 3 relationships, including 1 marriage, ended in one night. 2 to philandering, 1 because you took cocaine, got into a fist fight, and tried to stab a bouncer with your shoe was the last straw. Working in a bar. Van turns up. 10 guys jump out. Have a few shots and off to the next bar. Next morning I'm woken up by my manager. Mother of the bride is furious and claiming we are responsible for him being admitted to A&E last night. I tell the manager to check the receipt and shows only a few drinks purchased and she backs down. Find out later the poor groom didn't drink, but decided to as all his mates were pressuring him. Ended up with alcohol poisoning, admitted to A&E, turned up to the wedding, but threw up 3 times during the service and left immediately afterwards. Unsure what happened after that. Bachelor party shenanigans all day and finally evening arrives and heading down to the bar scene in KC. Quick stop at the porta potties outside, so we don't need to fight the lines inside. A groomsman jokingly lifts the potty with the groom just a little, but this causes the groom to lose balance and fall into the opposite wall and down it goes. Even lands directly on the door so he can't get out until we run over and push it off him. He comes out swinging and pissed. Later described it as a washing machine of shit. Never made it in the bar. Went to a bachelor party in Vegas, and one of my friends, in a fit of drunken anger over losing a bunch gambling, threw his keys into the fountain at the Bellagio. His dad had to drive up from LA the next day to help him get a new set of keys made. My buddy, the groom, got rip-roaring drunk. He got into a fight and got a really nice shiner. All his wedding pictures show him with a very pronounced raccoon eye. Good old Greg. Bride caught fucking the best man in the bathroom at the reception. It was a friend of mine at the time girlfriend's wedding. Bride and groom had gone from first date to engaged to married in 4 months, and nobody expected them to last, but I think most expected them to last past their wedding night. Turns out bride and best man were fucking for basically had been fucking since before the bride and groom met. The groom caught them himself as they were fucking in a stall in the men's room. It was a whole thing. Small bachelor party. We met a group of girls and went back to their hotel room for drinks after closing time. Groom finger banged one of them at the table we were sitting at. Don't have a crazy story like the others, but at my bestie's bachelor party I wanted to be the provider good friend and brought some Bacardi 151 for those that didn't bring anything. Unfortunately, I also decided to drink it straight and ended up having to be taken to the emergency room, ruining the whole party cause I drank too much. Pretty big fuck up, in my opinion. My friend and I were supposed to hang out while his fiancée went out to her cousin's bachelorette party. When I arrived at his house he asked if we should go to the strip club and have a beer. I agreed. We went to one club, but it was so busy that we couldn't get a beer. We walked across the street to the other strip club and there was hardly anyone there. We grabbed a beer and sat close to the stage. Not a minute later, my friend's fiancée, her mom, aunts, cousins, and friends came up behind us and said, "Busted." They were there on a scavenger hunt and had to get a poster from a stripper. I guess we jaywalked right in front of their limo as we walked from one strip joint to the other. They had to slam on their brakes and honked at us. We didn't even notice them. And that is how I met my best friends-in-laws. They like to remind me of that evening whenever I see them. Bachelor party started off great. Paintball session, great dinner, some bars, but then the two designated drivers decided a strip club wasn't in the cards and bailed on everyone else. The groom and groomsman ended up stranded in the city, so we called a groomsman's sister for a ride. We all crashed at her place, partied for a while, then she spent some alone time with the groom much to the chagrin of her little brother. I think the marriage lasted less than 90 days. I got laid by her friend, so I had a blast. Surely it has to be the girl who sucked off her dad in Amsterdam for everyone? Does anyone remember the Ada post where the woman surprised all her friends with a trip to a sex toy store for her bachelorette party, including the sex-repulsed asexual OP, and the woman running the store was really annoyed by how uncomfortable she was. Took everybody's keys and locked them in the trunk of the rental limo we used to go bar hopping. Groom's brother wants his keys back and gets a rock and chunk of metal and chops a hole in the trunk. Lucky to say I wasn't the renter of that vehicle.